A music executive died yesterday with a value of $850 million at the ripe age of 94, cozy and comfy in his bed. And every dollar of that $850 million was made off the backs of artists who did not make it to live past 50. Everything I'm about to say is verifiable information that you can find publicly on the internet. All right, let's jump in. The Aircrafts, 1967. One of the greatest soul singers to ever have lived, signs to a major record label through a subsidiary imprint, and then dies in a plane crash at the age of 26, 3 days after he recorded Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, a record that was not even finished by him because he did not live to finish it. The record company went ahead and filled the song with whistling as a placeholder and then released it anyway. This became the first post-death #1 single in music history. And when his label, after his death, went to claim his catalog, they found that a major record label that shall remain nameless had already claimed it. The plane went down, the catalog went up, and the company kept making money. 2001, a young artist whose uncle owned her masters dies in a plane crash. A witness states that she was allegedly given a sedative before she was loaded onto that plane unconscious. That plane was found to have been over its weight limit and piloted by someone with a fraudulent license. Her music's been locked in a vault for over 20 years, and her estate sees almost none of her revenue. The plane went down, the catalog went up, and the checks kept coming. 2026, an artist publicly announces his leaving his record label, saying on camera that he had made them tens of millions of dollars that the record company owes him. He gets his independent album going, starts off on his first world tour, and dies in a helicopter crash. Age of 32. Aircraft went down, catalog went up. The checks keep coming. Now let's talk about the ones that weren't aircraft, okay? 1996. Artist who was actively trying to unify the world through rap and who had cut the labels out of the beef between rap artists that they were profiting from is shot in a major American city in a car that he was not driving. 6 months later, the artist who this artist was beefing with is signed the label the other artist was beefing with, that is actually co-founded by the same executive that died yesterday, is also shot in a major American city. Almost 30 years later, and both of their catalogs have generated over hundreds of millions of dollars since their deaths. 2019, an artist who owned everything, his store, his block, his label, was days away from meeting with LAPD about community investment, then shot outside his own business. A man was convicted, but the community never accepted the lone gunman story. He was 33. That the executive that died yesterday did not just own one record label. He was part of a if you will. He co-founded the label that most of these artists who have died in unsolved murders belong to. He co-founded the label that signed a group of 3 women who filed for bankruptcy despite making the record label $23 million. One of those women who died in a car accident in a car that she was not driving at the age of 30. Same man who discovered a young woman at 19 with a voice that could shake a house down, shaped her, molded her career, owned her voice and her body, and owned her entire catalog, decided to continue on with a party after they found her dead in a bathtub the night before. He was quoted saying she would have wanted the music to play on. She was 48. He lived to be 80, and during those years collected off of every single one of her hit songs, including after her death. Now here's what nobody wants you to understand, right? This is not illegal because the major labels have something that's called the Death and Disability Clause, which states that upon the death of the artist, the label retains full ownership of the catalog and can continue to profit from said catalog indefinitely. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is a clause. It's in stone. It's litigated. Look it up. This was designed to ensure that if the artist happens to die in a mysterious plane crash, helicopter crash, drug overdose, whatever the case may be, the machine keeps running. They keep making money after they're gone because the artist is replaceable, but the catalog is forever. Now, there are many other people that I could have brought up, I could have named, but I'm not going to name anybody else. All I simply did was read to you public information that is well documented about that music industry executive who died with a worth of $850 million that the industry wants you to believe was a legend worthy of being honored.
Wow. I don't even know what to say after this lady just laid down so much law. And if this is true, man, which I'm pretty sure this young lady is very educated and she sounds like she knows what she's talking about. Wow. Wow. I don't even know what to say, man. Clive Davis is a mother effer. I never even knew about this guy until he died. But damn, Joe. Let's keep going though. God damn it.
And I just want to be sure y'all understand exactly who it is this legend was. Clive Davis was worth $850 million when he passed away at the age of 94, nice and comfortable in his home. And every dollar of that $850 million was built off the backs of artists who did not live to see 50. Now, in the first video, I told y'all about the airplanes. I told y'all about the unsolved murders. I told y'all about who bought the catalogs. I told you about who kept getting the checks after the artist passed. I told you about the clauses. And I told you about the post-death releases. But baby, today we're going to talk about the artist who screamed it. Who screamed out the pattern that I'm telling you about right now. And baby, buckle up, because these are the artists who screamed it publicly, who wrote it on signs, on their bodies, had witnesses, said it with speeches, and wrote it with their own words in songs. And their fate still ended up the same way. And this is where it goes from no longer being a pattern, but to something else entirely. Let's start in 1971, okay? Motown's #1 male recording artist signed to a label who told him what to say, what to write, what to record, when to record it, and how it should sound. But then he had something to say about the war in Vietnam, about police brutality, about the state of the world. And the label told him it was the worst thing they had ever heard, and they refused to release it. He released it anyway, and it did so well that they were forced to renegotiate his contract, making him the highest earning black artist on that label. So he won that round, but the label kept coming. They altered and released his album without his consent, even after he said it was unfinished. So he left Motown. He made a comeback, won his first 2 Grammys, was on his first world tour, and was shot by his own father with a pew-pew he had given his father as a gift. Now, his daddy claimed it was self-defense, but that's neither here nor there. The label, the catalog, made the hundreds of millions of dollars. He fought the label his whole life, and the label outlived him and kept collecting checks off his voice and his name. 2002, Harlem. Let's talk about the artist who didn't just fight behind closed doors, but stood at a podium at a civil rights organization's headquarters one night in Harlem and said, with a minister standing next to him, recorded, documented, written down, these are his words. Throughout the years, black artists have been taken advantage of completely. People like James Brown, Sammy Davis Jr., the pioneers, the real pioneers, these artists were always on tour, because if they stopped touring, they would be broke. Then he said, the record companies do conspire artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially against black artists. Then he said something that I think should have stopped the industry in its tracks. He said, we pioneer, we innovate. And at the end of the story, it's not an accident. It happens on purpose. And then he held up a sign of the name of his label, the CEO, with devil horns on his head, a pitchfork, and a tail. And the sign read, Sony Music Kills. That was in 2002, and he was leaving the label. He owned half their publishing, and they were furious about it. 7 years later, he's found in his home dead after a physician administered drugs, and this physician happened to be connected to the company that was orchestrating his comeback tour, the very company financing it. And after his death, the same label that he called out acquired 60% of his publishing estate, giving the label the rights to everything he spent his life protecting. He said it out loud in front of God and everybody, and the story still ended the same. The Brit Awards 1995, there was an artist who stopped using words altogether and instead changed his name legally to an unpronounceable symbol so that the record label could not own his identity. He appeared to an award show with the word slave written on his cheek. In one ceremony, his acceptance speech was 4 words. In concert, perfectly free. On record, slave. He told Rolling Stone that people think I'm a fool for writing slave on my face, but if I can't do what I want to do, what am I? He said, when you stop a man from dreaming, he becomes a slave. He said, I don't own my own music. I don't own my masters. When you don't own your masters, your master owns you. He eventually got his masters back in 2014, and 2 years later, and he died without one of the largest vaults of unreleased music in recorded history of sound. And Bebe, when he died, the vault opened and the money started flowing to everyone but him. Now, I could go on, but the point is this: that man who died worth an empire that was built on the backs of artists who never got to see that empire come to fruition, who never got to have the freedom of owning the art that they created. And they knew something was very wrong, and they named it. And where are they now? And who are the ones still collecting a check?
Clive Davis. How do you describe Clive Davis? There's an infomercial about him now, which is a document. It's being called a documentary. And it makes him look like this benign octogenarian that's helped all these rock stars with their careers. But people in the music industry really don't like Clive Davis, most of them. And his criminality is kind of amazing. He got busted, he's been for filing tax returns 3 times, and then defrauding the IRS 3 times. He was involved in the biggest payola scandal. That's when record companies give money to radio stations to play their songs. He was part of the scandal of all time as president of ABC Records. And then there was a Genovese crime guy named Pasquale Falcone. And he got busted smuggling 22 pounds of heroin into the United States. And the Justice Department started digging into him, and they came across all these shell companies that he headed. And Clive Davis was funneling money from ABC Records to the shell companies. So I've just told you about 2 decades worth of criminality by Clive Davis, and that guy has not spent one night in jail. That's what's amazing about him.
So y'all know they had the devil himself's funeral today. Clive Davis. Let's check out who was, shall we? Usher was there. Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys. Alicia looking like a dyke. Ja Rule and his wife looked like they was late. Now who is this holding this obituary up in front of Stevie Wonder like he could see it? But Stevie was there. Looking like he needed 2 guard. The barber ain't get close enough. Looked like he going a little ball at the top too. Bruce Springsteen, looking young. And Jennifer Hudson's ass going to kiss some more ass. They put him in the ground. Still, yes, don't like her. And then hooping and hollering at the funeral, thinking she singing. She hooping and then she hollering. Did all that stuff to her family. And all you ended up was a mediocre talk show. Thinking you was going to be the next Whitney Houston. You never got there. And the person that lied to you and told you that you was dead and gone now. Rest in hell, Clive Davis.
Man. The thing that on you when you die, man, truly evil. And a lot of stuff that this young lady was saying in the first videos, I honestly kind of had a theory. I just didn't know behind it. But even with the whole Michael Jackson story and listening to Dr. Umar, how he told about how Michael Jackson was going on his last tour and how he did own 6 catalog that Sony had, and how he owned the Eminem Masters and all this, man. It's like he just passed away right 2 weeks before his tour date. All this weird stuff, man. It's all a facade, man. And I was just telling my brother not too long ago, he like, man, why you don't do music like that? And I had to tell him, like, I don't do music because it's all a facade, man. All of this shit been a facade since we was kids. They not really wealthy. It's the people behind the scenes. It's a facade, man. But I don't know Clive Davis, and what I'm starting to hear about him, it's terrible, man. It's terrible. I hope these things ain't true, but I won't put it past them. Things don't happen by coincidence like that. It's just a dirty game, man. Make sure you being smart and taking care of yourself, govern your family, and really getting to know people before you put all of your royalties and masters in their hands and just give them your life, because as you can see, they don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? They don't give a damn. The takers never give us got to, man. So, to meet again, my friend. I'm out.